Is that a prairie dog sticking up between the ties? No, it's a feeder wire. Of course, you knew that. Are you interested in how to solder electrical connections to your track, or how to clean wheels if your engines aren't picking up well, or perhaps even cleaning the rail heads? Or would you rather just see more of that beautiful CB&Q GP7 that we enjoyed in the last video? Well, if so, you're in luck. This is Burr Stewart, and welcome to part 140 of my continuing series of model railroad operations videos. And today I'm going to catch up on some of the mistakes we've made in some recent videos, as well as make a few more mistakes of my own. So let's get started. First, we're going to go back to the previous video and really enjoy this GP7 painted in the, I guess you call it, zebra stripe scheme of the CB&Q. That's the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, which was one of the railroads that merged into the Burlington Northern in 1970. Now this model railroad, HO scale, models the Burlington Northern in 1973 in the Seattle area. So we have, as you see there, many different types of engines to play with. And in this case, what we're doing is putting a train back into staging that we had pulled out just for fun the other day. Now here we're doing what's called a stretch test. You see, we stopped and we pulled forward. And that lets us see that all the cars are coupled. And before we put it into the hidden staging yard off to the right, it's a really good idea to do this stretch test. Now, the reason there's a Western Pacific engine in there is because this was the GWS train, which stood for Great Northern, Western Pacific, and Santa Fe. And this was a through train that used pooled motive power between all three of those railroads. And it went from California up to the state of Washington and back again through what's called the Inside Gateway that went up and down central Oregon in between California and Washington. So we like to model this train coming in from Portland staging, and that's why we have a Western Pacific engine on it. I owe this engine to Bill Decker because he told me about it. He models the Southern Pacific in Oregon, and he told me that this was a good engine to use for this train. So that's why it's there. But of course, what we really want to do is enjoy this CB&Q GP7, like I said. Now we got it in focus finally. And that is just one beautiful engine. By the way, if you're a stickler for prototypical detail, I haven't been able to find any evidence that this paint scheme lasted into 1973 on the BN. I think the CB&Q had repainted all these old GP7 paint schemes into the so-called Chinese red scheme before now. But I really love the way it looks, so we're going to run it and call it good. Now, for some reason it lost power. And the reason is that we haven't cleaned the track for a while because we're kind of out of service, although you can see we're somewhat in service, due to a kitchen remodel project in our house. And we have a lot of dust around, so it's going to take a thorough track cleaning. Whoops, there it goes again. Now notice the engines are still moving even though one of them stopped. That's because we have three engines in this consist, and so when one of them loses power, the other two just pulls it right across the dead section. Now, I don't know why the headlight isn't on. Normally, there it goes. I normally have my headlights on, and so they stay on no matter what direction I'm going. And that's helpful for a maneuver like this. All right, now let's just take a look at the staging operation here. This is the switch set to track 6, and that's what we just backed onto. And over here where we have the car card packs for Portland staging, you see on track 6, there's our deck. 1610 is our CB&Q engine with the renumber. And then we have the car cards for the cars and the caboose card at the back with data about that caboose, because we love our cabooses, so we put as much data as we can on them, on that card there. So that's how we stage trains, and of course the trains are blocked ready to come out onto the layout during an operating session. And this is an overview of this section of the layout. Behind that far hillside is where the 7-track staging yard is. Well, it's 6 tracks, but the 7th track is a run-through that the green GP9 is on to represent the Boeing jet job. So you might remember we had a stall the other day which seemed like it might be a loose feeder wire. And one of you pointed that out in your comments, and so I looked into it and found out that indeed a feeder wire had come loose, a soldered connection. And so I drilled a hole, re-drilled the hole to put it through, ran it through the plywood base of the layout, and then identified where the hole came out. You can see some sawdust there from the hole. And then shoved the wire up through the hole. Bent it over so that we could solder it to the rail. Now, I normally solder my feeder wires like this to the bottom of the rail so that you can't see them, and they don't, destroy the illusion that we're really having railroad track here and not some toy train set. But in this case, I discovered that I had accidentally drilled the hole up where there's a piece of plastic in between 2 ties on this flex track. And you see with my file, I'm unable to get rid of that without a whole big surgery operation with an X-Acto knife and whatever. So I decided forget about it. I'm in a big hurry. And, you shouldn't be in a hurry when you're model railroading, but I was in a hurry today. I just wanted to get this over with. So I decided, forget it. We'll just solder this to the back of the rail. Nobody will ever see it because it's facing, the aisle is over to the right. So I just bent it carefully over so that it would fit. And this is a bit of a painstaking operation to get it just right. And of course, what really helps is to hold on to the wire underneath the layout if you can reach it. And you can see there I was moving the wire up and down with my hands. And of course, now that I was pretty much ready to go, I needed to file the side of the railhead to make sure that we'd have a good connection with our solder. And then I put some flux, some solder flux on the side of the rail and also on the wire. I had previously tinned that wire, so there was some solder on the wire already. So in theory, I should be able to just put some solder in there. I think here what I'm doing is I'm tinning the side of the rail. I'm putting some solder on the side of the rail without the wire so that when I touch them together, I put some more solder on the wire. All you need is 22 gauge for feeder wires, but this is a 20 gauge. I don't know why. You're following this, and now we're going to bend this over so that it'll really snug up onto the side of the rail. There we go. And then we're going to fuss with it some more and make sure it's just where we want it before we apply the final solder to it. I'm not quite satisfied with that, it seems. So I tried using tweezers instead of pliers to really put it where I wanted it. It's a little hard to see why I'm being so picky about this, but you definitely don't want the wire to stick up above the railhead and interfere with the movement of trains. But it doesn't normally take this long. It's just because I was making a video, that's why it took so long. There we go. I think I'm satisfied with it now, so I can bring the soldering iron in there and just hold it on there for long enough to really melt everything in good, but not to melt the plastic ties. That's the key. It's a little longer than I would normally like to do it, but no harm done. And then, of course, you take your file and make sure there's nothing sticking up above the top of the rail. And later, I went ahead and painted. There we go. That's a little LED track tester, courtesy of Seth Newman. And I was trying to do a thumbs up, but I couldn't get the camera wide angle enough, so eventually I got it. There we go. Thumbs up. We got the feeder wire soldered on there. And now we just put everything away. and test it. We don't have to test it, but you know, I like to have fun with trains on this channel, as you know. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity to run a train. Little did I know how much I would regret this, because I hadn't done any track cleaning and we've been having a lot of dust around. So you'll see what happens. So the first thing I did was to select the engine, as you can see here I'm doing, just typing in the 317 number and the bell, the direction correctly. Now it stopped already. Now why would that be? How could it be so bad? Yep, sound went out again. Now these switches have got frog juicers on them, so there's really no excuse for this poor pickup other than I haven't cleaned the track and I've been doing construction, so there's dust around. Well, I wanted to show you how frustrating it can be to maintain a model railroad when you're not paying attention. See, if I had thought about cleaning the rail first before doing the tests, so it would have been fine. Now you notice that I also didn't clean the flux off of where we soldered that rail, that feeder wire, so that's kind of bad too. This is going a little better. Don't worry, it'll get worse. So now we're over at the scale track. But you'll notice that I had forgotten to flip that switch. Oh, look at that. Do you see? It's going right across the switch set against it without derailing or shorting. Unbelievable. And now I forgot to set the switch back to the correct position for us to go test our feeder. Unbelievable. Between the lack of planning and my absent-mindedness or something, this is just not going well. Okay, now we got the switch lined up for the right track. I'm starting to use my fingers to clean the dust off the rail. It's still not doing well. How about that? Incredible. Now this is the section where I hadn't even removed the flux off the railhead. I guess it's all right. It's just past where we put the feeder wire in. So I got disgusted with myself and I quit the test, thinking maybe my problem is the wheels on the engine are dirty. We've been running the switcher a bit, and I thought it'd be a good thing to do that. So we take the IPA, which is isopropyl alcohol, we spray it on the piece of paper towel, and then we turn the engine on full speed and run it over the paper towel. You've seen this done. If you haven't, this is a great way to clean the wheels on your engines if they're powered wheels. So you just rub it back and forth while the wheels are spinning, and theoretically the dirt will come off onto the paper towel. Now in this case, come on, you can do it. In this case, I was quite surprised that there really wasn't much dirt. See, there wasn't much dirt on the wheels. The wheels were fine. It's just that I hadn't cleaned the track. That brakeman up there is really putting up with a lot of abuse today. So we applied the brake and stopped that thing. And it's still not working well. Well, like I said, I haven't done a thorough track cleaning. So I came back. Now I'm really getting annoyed with my fingernails, and I'm just scraping that rail to try. See the dirt on my fingernails? Just scraping the rail to try to get it clean enough, just so I can show you that everything's fine. But as you can see, everything is not fine because I haven't done a proper track cleaning job. And there's no reason I would, because I'm still working on the house construction project, and we're not doing train operations except for the occasional video like today. Yeah, see, I'm really trying hard with my fingernail now to get all that junk off. You suppose it can get across the switch without stalling this next time? Well, it did all right. Put the bell back on, and I say that's enough nonsense. Turn the throttle down, and let's call it good. We got that one blast of the horn to say we've stopped, and we're thoroughly disgusted with ourselves. But actually, we're happy that we got the feeder wire done, so that whole part of the layout is back in shape. So we can't have a video without a bang. Bang! And this is a U25B that I've had for many years, and for the last 8 years it's been out of service. I can't remember why, but I've been waiting to fix it up. Oh, look at those F units. Brian Elchlepp has been working on these F units, putting tsunamis in them. They're from the original Proto 2000 run that was powered with QSI decoders, which are notoriously unreliable and hard to work with. So now we have some tsunami decoders in these 3 F units, and we're going to enjoy them running. So anyway, I hope you learned a few things from this video, and you'll look at the rest of the videos on my channel. Let me know what topics you're interested in. And so for now, this is Burr Stewart, wishing you much fun with trains.